supremacists are always to blame. Now, the white supremacists do not mind sacrificing some white people in the cause of supporting white supremacy. In other words, I mean, white people who may not believe in white supremacy, they, in order to support the system itself, the white supremacists will say, well, we know that we're in an illegitimate business, we're in a criminal enterprise, which is what the system of white supremacy is. So, in a criminal enterprise, we might have to lose a few of the members of our own mob, the members of our own criminal syndicate. And so we'll do that. We'll do the math, and if it's worth it, we'll sacrifice. We don't mind that. We'll lose a few in order to be able to conquer the many black people or keep them under control, the non-white people of the planet. So we'll sacrifice 2 or 3 million. 2 or 3 million white people who really don't particularly want to be sacrificed. But hey, this is business. We got to stay in business. So we'll do it in the form of law enforcement officers, or we'll do it in some other form. But it's good for the machine to keep running.
One that's come up for a long time is, as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible. Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800 that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem? What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children. And this effect is very, very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart, that world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year, and it's now come way, way down. Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down, and so we can feel great about saving those lives.
Five easy minutes, 100% natural looking results. Try Just for Men shampoo in color to restore your original shade.
Hey, are you stuck at home right now? Or do you at least have a little bit more free time than you used to with all
The population of Africa is set to almost double by 2050, raising fears that progress in fighting poverty and disease will be reversed. So, what can be done to ensure that poverty doesn't increase? And how can a disproportionately large youth population help drive progress? With me to discuss all of this and more is Bill Gates. Bill, are we at a turning point where regression is a real risk?
Well, first, the progress over the last several decades has been pretty amazing, both reducing childhood death, getting kids in school, getting agricultural productivity up, and reducing extreme poverty. But it's really Africa that still has a doubling in population to 2050 and probably another doubling to 2100, where you population to 2050 and probably another doubling to 2100, where you really have to do a good job if you're trying to get these extreme poverty rates down. So if we don't do better in investing in human capital in Africa, yes, the number of people in extreme poverty is actually going to go up.
Should the solution, or should more solutions be focused on slowing that growth? So, for example, increasing reproductive rights for women or spreading the access to contraceptives, because it seems that, is it correct that no amount of investment can really keep pace with that population growth?
What we do between now and 2050 with education, with economic growth, with health and nutrition, that'll really set the course for moderating the population growth between 2050 and 2100. But it's really a virtuous cycle, letting women have reproductive health tools that they want, educating girls, raising agricultural productivity.
我注意到，在美国也会有一些网友甚至攻击您，说病毒是从您疫苗的这个研制过程中出来的。您在用什么样的心态面对这种声音？
I'd say it's an ironic if you take somebody who's doing their best to get the world ready and putting, in my case, billions of dollars into these tools for infectious diseases and really trying to solve broadly infectious diseases, including those that can cause pandemics. But that, we're in a crazy situation, so there's going to be crazy rumors. I hope, whether it's individuals or countries, that in some ways this shows us how interdependent we are. That to stop a global pandemic, we need to find whoever's the best, whatever the best vaccine construct are, the best drugs, and we need to make it without just focusing on one country. We need to make it for the entire world, including for countries that don't have the resources to pay for vaccine research or vaccine factories. We need to make it for the entire world, including for countries that don't have the resources to pay for vaccine research or vaccine factories. They're actually, in many ways, should be the priority for what we do. So
Congo crisis, in a nutshell. Since 1996, over 6 million people have died in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. so that we, in the Western world, can benefit from its resources. Congo is extremely rich in gold, diamonds, copper, cobalt, tin, uranium, coltan, and many other precious minerals. Congo has 64% of the Earth's coltan, a precious mineral that is needed for our modern electronics like iPhones, iPads, computers, laptops, PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendos, jet engines, inkjet printers, and the list goes on and on. PlayStations. Congo has 64% of the Earth's coltan, a precious mineral that is needed for our modern electronics like iPhones, iPads, computers, laptops, PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendos, jet engines, inkjet printers, and the list goes on and on. In 1946, the Strategic Minerals Stockpiling Act was passed to obtain and stockpile cobalt. With the largest reserves of cobalt on the planet, Congo was targeted. Cobalt is a strategic and critical mineral that is essential for our aerospace, military, and defense industries. As the United States and the United Kingdom provide financial for our aerospace, military, and defense industries. As the United States and the United Kingdom provide financial aid and military aid to countries such as Rwanda and Uganda, these neighboring countries plunder Congo's natural resources as the death toll rises. To countries such as Rwanda and Uganda, as the United States and the United Kingdom provide financial aid and military aid to countries such as Rwanda and Uganda, these neighboring countries plunder Congo's natural resources as the death toll rises. In 4 studies, the United Nations implicated multinational companies in sourcing coltan from Congo, stating that these companies serve as the engine of the conflict in the DRC. 4 studies, the United Nations implicated multinational companies in sourcing coltan from Congo, stating that these companies serve as the engine of the conflict in the DRC. As the world benefits from Congo's riches, Congolese men, women, and children continue to be raped, tortured, starved, displaced, and killed. In 2010, a leaked United Nations report cited crimes of genocide may have been committed by the Rwandan troops. There is very little media coverage on what is actually happening in Congo. When Congo is covered by the media, it is often about rebel groups committing mass atrocities. What these reports do not cover are the funding, training, and the arming of these rebel groups by foreign governments. Nothing is ever mentioned about the Western-backed coups, wars, assassinations, or the involvement of foreign corporations in the looting of Congo. 48 women are raped every hour. Millions are displaced. Over 6 million dead. Half are children under the age of 5. What is happening in Congo is a silent holocaust. Million dead. Half are children under the age of 5. What is happening in Congo is a silent holocaust.
Most corporations are kind of staying at arm's length from all of this, as indeed governments are for the time being, but quietly behind the scenes you can see them taking interest. There are a number of powerful or wealthy venture capitalists. Bill Gates is the sort of prominent player here who's invested in a range of geoengineering schemes. You can go to the US Patent Office and you'll find Bill Gates' name on a couple of patents for geoengineering. Well, Gates is the sort of prominent player here who's invested in a range of geoengineering schemes. You can go to the US Patent Office and you'll find Bill Gates' name on a couple of patents for geoengineering. We've also starting to see the oil companies, even Exxon, BP, Shell, starting to take an interest. They're sort of putting people into independent groups to produce reports advocating research into geoengineering. And you've got some kind of rogue geoengineers, sort of cowboy capitalists who are going out there right now and doing these kinds of experiments in the ocean, for example.
So talk about what these experiments are.
Well, the one that has perhaps attracted most attention is an experiment in so-called ocean iron fertilisation, spreading iron slurry on a patch of ocean.
What is iron slurry?
Well, basically iron dust or iron sulfate mixed with seawater, spread it on a patch of ocean, and algal blooms suddenly emerge. You can do this quite quickly. And the idea is that this way you overcome the acidity of the ocean. You stimulate the production of algal blooms. They suck up carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and all of this sort of marine life that you stimulate then, in theory, sinks to the bottom of the ocean, taking their carbon with them, because as organic creatures, they have to absorb carbon as they grow, and they grow because we've added the micronutrient that is missing, that is the iron in the sea. And so there's a man called Russ Joyce.
Democracy Now! U.S. forces have launched a pair of airstrikes on southern Somalia. Many people are believed to have died.
That also touch on the same things of dealing with poverty or dealing with opportunity for everyone. And so it's a big challenge for us to make sure that this money gets used in the right way.
Is the world's largest private philanthropic organization causing harm with the same money it uses to do good? We'll speak with the author of a new expose on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting over 500 stations around the country on Pacifica and NPR and Low Power FM and college and community radio stations, as well as on public access TV and PBS TV stations and both TV satellite networks. Dish Network Channel 9415, Free Speech TV, 9410 Link TV, and on DirecTV Channel 375. And we're video and audio podcasting at democracynow.org. Is the world's largest private philanthropy causing harm with the same money it uses to do good? That's the question hanging over the charity of Microsoft founder Bill Gates and his wife Melinda today. The Los Angeles revealed the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has made millions of dollars each year from companies blamed for many of the same social and health problems the foundation seeks to address. The Gates Foundation has an endowment of more than $31 billion. The investment mogul Warren Buffett has pledged an additional $30 billion, delivered in incremental sums. Since its inception 6 years ago, the foundation has committed more than $11 billion to programs around the world. This includes major grants for vaccine and immunization programs, HIV and AIDS research, and public education here. $11 billion to programs around the world. This includes major grants for vaccine and immunization programs, HIV and AIDS research, and public education here in the United States.